Hello and welcome to a new episode of Coffee and Contemplation with Susan. This is the first episode for 2022. I'm Susan Dunlop, and if you've been here before, welcome back. And if you're new, thanks for joining me. I am a professional coach and a 3 Vital Questions certified facilitator. This podcast show is about women coming on to share their stories, everyday, good-hearted women who have done amazing things, even if they think they haven't. As I mentioned late last year, I will also talk on the work of the drama triangle shift towards the empowerment dynamic, which is the work I am focused on in my coaching practice. But before we kick off, February is my new January because I had to stop. And I was just wondering whether you ever feel like you need to stop, but then you don't. You just keep on running. I got COVID in January. It made me realize that I was having one of those feather brick truck kind of stops that the universe sends us that are very real. I spoke earlier in, I think it was episode 21, on the feather brick truck ODUC moments. It's pretty much a metaphor that I learnt at a business course way back, and I applied it ever since in relation to when things were coming up in my business. I had to realize that there were messages being sent to me that I could ignore, or I could actually take a moment's pause and see what's being in front of me that I need to deal with. Feather brick truck moments don't come once, just like COVID, really. Feather brick truck moments are there to keep us safe our entire lives. They're there to help us on our journey and to maybe help us make life a little bit easier. I think if we ignore them, we tend to actually cause problems for ourselves. I thought I would just discuss that just briefly today before we kick off into the new year. Talking in terms of a feather type of message. Now you're feeling like you need to stop. You get quiet, you think about where you're headed, but then you rush forward and you leave that behind. And that to me is a feather kind of message floating down in front of you. So you have a choice. You can pick it up and take 1 or 2 or 3 hours, a journal, your notepad, and write out what you need to get out of your head and onto paper. It gives you pause, and then you get to start afresh. So it's there for a reason, so that you don't run into any other dramas as you continue on. You have the other choice is you walk over it because you're too busy to see it, because you're very busy being busy. But then there's the brick kind of stop. And that came to me in that bout of COVID, I think, in early January, I would say is my example of it. The symptoms appeared, they disappeared, I high-fived myself, and that I got through it okay, that was great. But then an exhaustion came down on me from my brain through to my toes, and it stayed for a few weeks. And I tried bucking out of it, and I was thinking, oh gosh, because I don't get sick. And I never really ever feel this type of tiredness, but it was a type of tiredness that I couldn't explain I've ever experienced before. January to me is, I've got new big things I want to get done, and I'm usually running straight into it. But the exhaustion stayed, so I had to actually pay attention to it. And that to me was a brick, because I realized that it was the universe telling me my body just really needed me to be kind to me for a moment. I tested it. I, got through a first week and I tried doing creative things. I pulled my mosaic out to do, and my brain fog just wasn't seeing color. It was like a gray mood that was just hovering. So I just wrapped it back up and put it away again. And then I remembered quickly that this is, what it was. It was, be okay. Being hit with a brick is okay, because I had to stop, and then I stopped and it worked. If I hadn't stopped, I don't know where it would have gone. I think it would not be good for your body to fight against that type of fatigue. I think you'd actually extend it. Again, it's a different type of exhaustion to what I've experienced, so I don't even know what would happen. To me, a truck kind of message, when it's about stopping, it means you need to stop so that something really bad doesn't happen. Can you imagine any ideas of trucks in your life that have come in front of you that showed you that you needed to pay attention for a moment? And I'm not talking, as I said, I'm not talking the COVID story. I think truck messages come because we've ignored the feather message and then the brick message. What could the universe deliver by way of you being hit by a truck, metaphorically speaking? So I thought about that and I think, I've actually got no trucks happening right now in my life. That's good. But it made me think that, realistically, for the last 2 and a bit years, the universe has actually been sending us tons of each kind of the messages as the feather bricks and trucks have been raining down or at us. And I think, a lot of us have just tried to just keep swimming, as Dory would say, tried to be brave. And I think it's actually quite exhausting in itself anyway to do that. How's that work for you? If you keep on going and going and going without stopping to look up and see what's good ahead of you, what's the end of this year going to look like? I think the way of being, the way we were pre-COVID, that seemed like it was an easy thing to say when it had only been around 1 year. It's been a long time, and we used to have vast, fun decisions, booking flight, seeing everyone, traveling, returning, traveling again. Large family gatherings were just a thing. You invite people to a 21st and everyone would come. We haven't had that. Businesses, oh my gosh, have been disrupted completely and have had to establish whole new normals for themselves. Where are we now? What is going on now? And where do you want to be 12 months from now? For me, the messages in my life have been, it's okay to put a full stop on the page. With the COVID, I actually ended up realizing I needed to stop because I had achieved a lot last year. There was a lot of things that I needed to celebrate and respect and be okay that I didn't need to rush forward with the next thing. Even just taking myself off social media, that was an interesting change for me, that I actually stopped adding to the noise of society and I stopped seeing so much that I don't need to see. So again, it might have been that I just needed to actually really just, unplug myself a bit longer. Yeah, and then the COVID came, so it totally did put the full stop on the page. I think if we acknowledge where we've come to these past few years, you could hug yourself for one thing that you've done so well, because it's been the most extraordinary ride I think we've endured ever in my history. Anyway, I've got 3 adult daughters, and I recall calling them on the night the Prime Minister disrupted, Dancing with the Stars in early 2020. As a human, let alone a business owner, I took in Morrison's message that night and I got goosebumps. It was like a full stop to one era of our lives. And I checked, were the girls okay with what was rolling out before our eyes? Just making them pause to acknowledge that what was being told to us that night was something that we've not experienced before. We haven't in Australia been told what we can do and what we can't do. And that was only the beginning of it. Jobs were going to be lost the next day. And the amount of restrictions that have been placed on us like this has been insane. But I mean, I understand the need for it. The insanity of it is just, it just makes you really wonder what was it all about. I've watched from the sidelines of others' lives, my clients and other people I know in businesses locally, and I know I've fared very well, and my heart goes out to so many people who've been, put in the place of needing to even choose between their lifetime career, where mandates about vaccines have actually put their career, say as a nurse, aside to go and work in an admin job because they don't want to get vaccinated. And that's become something that's just normal in Australia. So what's that all about? Anyway, feather, bricks and truck moments, they come, and it's important to do what you need to do for you. To me, I was fearful of getting COVID and I got it. So the message I took away was my immune system is strong, thankfully. The depletion and exhaustion afterwards meant that I need to focus now on nourishing myself and strengthening my body as best I can, just in case, because it does come back. You can get it again. I'm hopeful that that's not so real that that's going to happen, but it can. That led me to retreating quietly for me into the remainder of January was an important step for me to take. And I think some of us don't know how to get off the machine. And, if you can unplug and just not be looking to see what's outside of your space, you've got a lot that's coming from within you that would be far more important for you to pay attention to. I've never felt brain fog before, and it was quite a lesson. And, as I began to start reconnecting with my vision, because I do all my vision work at this time of year, I thought, okay, I turned over the flip chart page one morning. I actually brought it through to the lounge because it's so hot here and I've got the aircon on. So I stood there with my marker pen. I went, no, I've got nothing. But I had no energy in my legs. My brain just went, I've got nothing to map here. So just go back and get yourself a cup of tea and we'll do this another time. So, usually I do big mapping of where I'm headed, and I just couldn't even think of it. It was just beyond me. So I sidestepped around my good old business visioning 1, 2, 3 steps, and I found a new path over the next few days that sort of came to me from, as I said, inside me. I actually realized that I needed to find a new way of doing things. So I wrote down instead in my journal, what will help me get back up and live my one vision as me? And I had my 2-page business plan on the Mac, and it told me, what I said I wanted a year ago. But there was no passion fueling it. I could feel that it was a bunch of statements, outcomes, targets. I had my values there. That was fine. Who my clients were, what my marketing messages were, all that type of thing. But it just felt, maybe my brain fog was telling me it was also a bit grey and I needed some colour to put into it. So I thought, what could I add to the business plan? Because we can change what we do. We don't have to stick to templates. To what I actually said I wanted last year to become more colourful, alive, magic, tantalizing, for me to get up to each day with a smile. So just randomly, I added some empty squares to the table in the Word format business plan. In those, I put down what personal changes am I going to make? And all of these have got a list of 5. So I tend to write in 5s. So what personal changes am I going to make that are really important? What 5 commitments am I going to make? And what are the highest value targets of mine personally and also in business? What are my non-negotiables? They're important to include, I think. And my life rules, leave people better than you found them, all of that type of thing. Plus the best routines that have worked for me in the past. I deleted my old top 5 values because values do change, and I tell that to my clients a lot. So I reworked those even to make them even juicier. And I could feel that the brain fog was heavy, but the work I pulled out and put onto that page was really deep inner work. It was the words that were coming from within me that I hadn't found before. But what resulted was a business plan that's authentic. It makes me smile just thinking about it. It gives me balance between objectives, mission targets, and all my personal mandates about what I have to give to make it happen, what I have to commit to, the self-control that I need to put in place, things that I need that will even improve such simple things as like, your self-confidence. So you need to incorporate that. What actually will help you improve your self-trust, your self-confidence, and your self-esteem even. It can be something like that can go into the plan, because as business owners, we know we often take lots of knocks when it comes to our self-confidence in the world, especially if you are on social media. At the bottom line of the business plan, the biggest smile was that all of it touches on what's important to me, is important to my husband, my family, and to those people I'm serving. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing looking business plan. So I was quite happy with it. I tweaked it for a few more days because I was really being honest with it. I had to keep on checking and going, oh, you just wrote those words. They're just motherhood statements. Just change it and make it real words from inside me. So I replaced anything that didn't feel completely me. And then the good stuff came next. So what I did after that, I don't know if you know about stream of consciousness writing. I've done that a fair bit in writing my book, that you basically set a timer or you give yourself a page limit and you give yourself a topic and you write and don't lift your pen off the page until you get to the deadline of the time you gave yourself, which is a page is usually 7 minutes, or you give yourself a page. So I sat with a notebook and I wrote, articulate my vision for the year as if I were a magician. Write what's possible and no limitations. What has to happen between now and 31st of December 2022 to make this my best year yet? Albeit 1 month short of a whole year, but I'm okay with that. I didn't let the pen stop until the page was full. Didn't disrupt what's coming up. I pretty much watched my pen write out really interesting ideas and thoughts. Some were good, some bad. You have to acknowledge stuff that's coming up, so I just let that all come out as well. But it was better on paper than not. With that brain fog still lifting even further, I still couldn't stand up to a whiteboard. I just wasn't interested in anything that was that way, that was the old school way of me. And then there's another step after that, but I won't bamboozle you with that today. If that's something that you would like to do, there's that idea of what I just did onto one page. I mean, I could support you with it as a coach, and in one session we could do it together. But you can easily do it yourself. Just only if it's daunting to you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. There's one really empowering, passion-fueled action you can take that's not about the worry. It's not about the anxiety of the problems or what hasn't happened yet, about COVID and the never-ending news that's coming towards us that's frightening us, because we get so caught up in what we don't want, like me with COVID, I didn't want it, but I got it, but now I haven't. Rather than putting our focus on what we really do want, it's a very big thing of human beings to focus on the drama and being stuck in that cycle. Imagine if you focused on what you do want instead, and then think of all the things that are in place that can actually help you make that happen. You might already have things in place that you already are doing towards it. So it's quite a surprising starting point for you to do. So if you've not visioned your 2022 year, give it a try. I'm talking for you personally as well as career or in business, if that's all of you. The vision I wrote out was an absolutely glorious mix of everything that's me. It was family, creativity, travel, retirement plan, how I'm delivering, who I'm delivering my work to, and some of my other missions that are wrapped around the book. They're all there. So I have now captured it. So just, on one piece of paper, no more, a pen, no distractions, turn off your phone, tell anyone that you're not around right now. You just need to just give yourself, really, as I said, honestly, 7 minutes. Write what you truly desire that gives you wealth in all areas of your life, not just financially, this coming year. So I think that's enough for today. And as I said, it's the beginning of February, and I'll be back soon with new episodes with some amazing guests. So let me know if you do that process, or if you'd like some support. You're welcome to email me, susan@susandunlop.com.au, or even share your vision with me. I'd love to celebrate what's important to you, because getting it onto paper is the one baby step towards making it happen. Thank you for joining me today. As I said, I'm Susan Dunlop, professional coach and 3 Vital Questions certified facilitator in some pretty amazing work that I'm doing. Yeah, I look forward to speaking again next week.